Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. So the former president and Donald Trump is currently considering a massive change to Social Security in our current tax system. So we're going to be covering that. Plus, we finally have our 12-man jury in Trump's hush money trial, so we will be covering that as well. But before we go ahead and dive into the main content of today's video, if you wouldn't mind helping me out real quickly by just giving this video a like, that just helps out with the good old YouTube algorithm, and also consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already. Plus, if you would like to receive up to $10,000 in free stocks or $10,000 in free cash, in a pinned comment below, I will be leaving a link to Moomoo. All you have to do is once you click on that link is just sign up for a free account and then deposit at least $100. At that point, Moomoo will be sending you at least 5 free stocks worth all the way up to $10,000. And if you'd rather just receive the cash, all you have to do is once you receive those stocks is just sell them for what they're worth and then transfer the cash value right back to your bank account. Okay, so yesterday they finally seated the 12-man jury. Right now, they do have one person on the bench. They do want to have at least 6 reserves just in case one of the jurors out of the 12 that were selected end up having to step down for whatever reason, whether it's they get sick or whether they just found they can no longer be on the jury. So today that will pick right back up and they need to select 5 more, and the trial is expected to start on Monday.
We're covering the breaking news that in the first criminal trial featuring Donald J. Trump as the defendant, the first ever criminal trial of an American ex-president, the judge, Judge Juan Merchan, has just announced inside that courtroom that the jury has been selected. They have been sworn in. Tomorrow, this process does continue because 6, a number that Andrew Weissman tells us is a large number of alternates, 6 alternates will be selected. And all of the jurors, the ones that were sworn in today, as well as the alternates that are likely selected tomorrow, will hear all of the facts and all of the evidence in this case, which could start as early as Monday. Andrew Weissman.
So just in addition, one of the alternates has been selected. So there are 5 more that will be selected tomorrow. Both sides under state law are given 2 peremptories for each alternate that they have to use for that person. So when we get to alternate 2, a proposed juror will come on, and each side will have the opportunity to exercise 2 peremptories, and then you're done. Then the next person gets chosen as number 2, and that goes on until you have the 6 alternates. And as Sue said, it is possible overnight you could lose some of the initial 12, in which case like alternate 1 would move into one of the juror seats. But it does appear that there will almost certainly be a full jury of the 12 jurors and the alternates by the end of the day tomorrow, if not sooner. And that would mean openings on Monday. So a relatively quick pace for Judge Merchan in moving this case along.
So right now the trial is speculated to last right around 6 weeks, and a lot of people are wondering right now, like, is it possible that Trump can actually get a fair trial in the state of New York, particularly Manhattan, where in 2020 Biden won 85% of the vote in Manhattan. And, you know, there's a lot of hostility towards Trump there. A lot of people don't particularly like the guy, so a lot of people are asking the question, like, is it possible that Trump can actually get a fair trial?
Saul, could Trump still get a fair trial in New York if this Judge Merchan is still presiding over it?
Well, I think it's going to be difficult for him to get a fair trial in New York, irrespective of whether Merchan is presiding, because of the overwhelming hostility to Trump by members of the jury pool. But certainly Merchan is making it more difficult. You know, he wasn't chosen by random selection, which I find shocking. He was picked by the chief administrative law judge there, supposedly because of his great judicial learning and temperament. But I understand that, in fact, he's not that good of a judge and that he's very thin-skinned and has temperament problems. I heard that from a great lawyer I know by the name of David Schoen.
Speaking of David Schoen, David, Judge Merchan allowed one of the jurors to sit in the case despite obvious political bias. Watch this.
They had things on their social media posts that Donald Trump and his lawyers found troubling. The juror number one, had taken a video at a distance of what looked like a celebration in the streets of New York for when Trump lost in 2020. I think that was it. Mm-hmm. And it showed that she was biased, and there was some language that suggested that she might have a bias. The judge found in this case, in this juror, that this juror could continue.
David.
Listen, he agonized over another juror in the case who had horrible social media posts and finally only decided to excuse her for cause because she also wrote that Trump should be locked up.
So leave your thoughts in comments below. Do you believe that Trump can actually get a fair trial in this case? Would love to read your thoughts in comments below. Now, speaking of Trump, he's currently mulling over a massive change to Social Security and the tax system. He's currently considering a massive tax cut for Americans, which in turn could actually end up hurting those receiving Social Security benefits. So we are going to be covering that right now. So according to Reuters, Donald Trump mulls middle-class tax cut as he eyes return to office. So U.S. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump has indicated to advisors he is keen on a new middle-class tax cut should he return to the White House. Two people familiar with the discussion said an initiative that could appeal to voters but could also worsen America's yawning budget deficit. Among the ideas that advisors have presented to the former president is a cut to the federal payroll tax, said one of the people, a move that could lower the flow of money into the Social Security and Medicare trust funds and open Trump to criticism from Democrats that he is torpedoing the safety net for elderly Americans. Trump has signaled that he is open to the idea, though he has made no commitments, the person said. Trump's economic team proposed slashing the payroll tax in 2020 as a way to jumpstart the economy during the worst of the COVID-19 pandemic, but his administration settled for temporarily allowing deferrals in payroll tax payments. The recent conversations indicate that his economic advisors are still seeking a payroll tax cut, even though the economy is much healthier than what it was 4 years ago when it was hit hard by the pandemic. Other ideas that Trump's close economic advisors are discussing include an increase in the so-called standard deduction on year-end tax returns and a cut to the marginal income tax rate for middle-income households. One of the people with knowledge of the conversation said it was unclear if either of those ideas had been presented to Trump directly. Now, Nancy Altman, the president of Social Security Works, blasted the idea in a statement on Thursday. She said that Trump recently received pushback when he said that there is a lot you can do to cut Social Security, so he is dusting off the old Republican playbook and bringing back the strategy known informally as, quote, starve the beast. In this case, Social Security is the beast. Social Security, Altman continued, can only pay benefits if it has sufficient dedicated revenue to pay its costs. That is why it doesn't contribute even a penny to the deficit. If Trump succeeds in slashing that dedicated revenue so that it is no longer sufficient to fully cover the cost, it will result in an automatic benefit reduction, Altman said. This would happen without any Republican having to vote for the cuts or Trump having to sign them into law. So basically this would work out for a tax cut for working Americans where they would no longer have to pay the 6.2 to 12.4% dedicated funds going into the Social Security Trust Fund, nor would they have to pay the small percentage of money going into Medicare. But in return, what could end up happening is that these funds would no longer have the money to pay out 100% of the benefits. Instead, the federal government would have to be taking their tax revenues, which is already lower than what they already spend, and they would have to pay that money out to Social Security beneficiaries and to Medicare as well. And in turn, our deficit would grow even more. Now, of course, in order for this idea to even pass, it would have to pass through Congress first. So it would need a simple majority in the House, at least 218 votes. And then in the Senate, it would be even more difficult where it would need at least 60 votes, unless of course they were able to nuke the filibuster. But let me know your thoughts and comments below on this idea. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Would love to read them. But that's all we have for today's video. I certainly hope you enjoyed and found value out of it. If you did, again, I would greatly appreciate if you could give this video a like. Consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already, and I will see you in the next video.